Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome back to my art journaling channel. Today we're doing a really quick use it up layer journal, and it's inspired by Mixed Media Jenn, who's an artist on both Instagram and on YouTube. So she's got some fantastic videos and I encourage you to go and check it out. So she put up this video which was itself inspired by an Australian artist called Michelle Logan, who I'm on a design team with for Scrap FX. So it's really kind of this funny circle of how this layout came about. But I had this watercolor page in the back of my Use It Up journal and it's been sitting there for ages. I tested out, I think, my Jane Davenport Brights palette on it a year and a half before. And it was one of the last pages in my Use It Up journal. I just wanted to do something with it. And when I saw Jen's take on how she used the stencils from Dina Wakley, I just loved it and thought, I've got the perfect page to use that in. So I've just gone in with some extra watercolor paints, and I think the second palette I used was from Art by Marlene, her first release. And these are some designed by Rachel Beth handmade watercolors, which come in these beautiful shimmery colors. And I'm just going back in with those just to put in some extra mark making or shimmers in the background. I'm not going to see all of this. This is kind of like the collages, the mark making collages I've done in the past. But instead of actually putting collage down, I'm just using watercolors. So I've put down blocks of color and now I'm putting some mark making over the top. So lines, the shapes of the brush, all sorts of different things. And it doesn't need to be neat and it doesn't need to make sense because a lot of this is going to be blacked out with black paint in the long run. The neon colors from the designs by Rachel Beth are amazing. They're almost like a gouache, I think. They're a lot more opaque than other watercolors, so they do stand out a lot from the background, and they're great layering colors to put over the top. I do know though she is crazily busy. She only works on Etsy and she only puts out a release every Friday, so if you ever do have an opportunity to buy some of her paints, they are amazing, but they are very, very limited. So I think I got in just before she got a bit too busy. So now I'm just going in with these Dina Wakley stencils. This is the moon face stencil, and just sort of placing it around the page so it fits in. And I'm also going to use one of her newer stencils which has got lots of faces in it as well. The black I'm using is her black gesso, which is a really, really matte colour when it's dried, which I love for the black because it just really is a really dark colour, but it's so easy to apply. So I'm just going around trying to fit in as many faces as I possibly can onto this page, and you can see how trying to capture some of that pattern in the background as well. Don't really mind which faces I'm using, just trying to fit in as many as possible. So this is a more abstract face stencil, but there's smaller faces that I could use to fill in the background, which I quite liked, having the combination of the two on the page. With the sponging, you can notice I've got my paint out on my glass mat and I'm just pouncing up and down. I'm not wiping across it, and that gives you a fairly clean image in the end. If you do that, I'm also pouncing the paint out a few times before I put it onto my stencil, just to make sure it's evenly spread over my sponge before I start sponging. Finally, to finish off this page, I'm just going in with the excess black that I've got out and painting around the outsides of the faces, just to have these sort of faces peering out from the black, so it's sort of encapsulating the colour from the background. And you can see the difference between the two pages. Having the black around it is just really, really striking and really puts the focus on that watercolour, which I love. It's just such a simple technique, which Jen did, but it's just a really beautiful technique. And again, this could be applied to anything. You could put it over scrapbooking paper if you want to, a really lovely scrapbooking paper that you liked, a collage that you had done in a different way. It's just a good way of reducing the amount of busyness you've got in the background and putting these focus spots in. So once I've painted out all the areas and I'm happy with it, I'm just going to give it a quick blast with the heat gun, I think, just to make sure it's all dried and clean up my area so I don't put my hand in the paint and my white t-shirt, because why wouldn't you do art with a white t-shirt underneath? So once I've finished that, I think I'm going through and looking for a little chipboard quote. Oh no, I've got some stamping to do. So I've got this stamp, I think it's a Apter stamp. It's just sort of this random coded text. I'm not sure if it is actually just words with some bits missing out of it, but I love it as a background stamp. And I'm using the Jane Davenport White Squid Ink. Excuse me. Just to add some interest into that black. You can see it's a bit patchy, and I also stamped it off the block. That meant I could sort of bend it so to fit it into the different areas. Just got a Posca paint pen, and I tend to use the that little envelope bit. I've never used the envelope bit, but I tend to test my pens out on the side of the page because it's just that little bit poking out. I'm just doing some really scribbly lines around my little moon people, just to, again, pop them out from the background a little bit. So these are the Tim Holtz chipboard quotes that he's got, and I'm just going through and trying to find one that I really liked. They're a really, really handy thing to use. They're really sturdy and quite bulky, and what I do is peel the front away from the backing of the chipboard just so it'll lie flat in my journals, and I keep those backings because anything I do need to pop up in something else I'm working on, I can use those. So this is a close-up of the final page. It was really super quick. I think I only sped this up twice, so it took me about 15 minutes to do. Thank you so much to Jen for the inspiration for this page, and please have a go at it. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.